This is the Construction Leading Edge podcast from ConstructionLeadingEdge.com and ConstructionBusinessAccelerator.com. My name is Todd Dawalt. It's my job to help you maximize revenue and eliminate chaos. Got a great interview today with Matt Jackson and Katyana Repas. They are a couple who run a high-end custom woodworking shop in the Quebec area in Canada. And here's what you're going to get out of this interview. You're going to learn about some of the tricks and secrets that they've learned about running a business as a couple. You're going to learn about the importance of vision and goals and how that has played into their success growing their business dramatically in the last year. You're going to find out what it takes to be a great implementer. There's a lot of information out there, but frankly, if you don't implement it, it doesn't do you any good. And they are great implementers. They're great at putting stuff into play, putting it to work, and we're going to talk about why are they good implementers. Maybe you'll get something out of that. We'll also talk about finding the right balance of systems and processes and checklists. You'll hear about the difference in personality styles between Matt and Katyana and how they struck that balance. And you'll also find out that their business has grown dramatically in the last year, and we talk about what part did mindset play in their business growth. Pretty interesting stuff. But before we get into that interview, I have a couple of resources I want to get into your hands. The first one is about a very common frustration that I hear from construction business owners, and it involves bookkeeping. They spend a lot of time keying in invoices, doing payroll, managing paperwork, trying to keep up with the back office part of their business, in many cases making a lot of mistakes, spending a lot of time undoing their mistakes. Most of them hate it. Many of them would say they're probably screwing it up, but they feel like they're stuck doing their own bookkeeping. They're not sure if they're making money at all. They're not sure which projects are profitable, and the thought of filing taxes wakes them up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat. Frankly, they're flying their business blind because they don't get good reports to make decisions from. Well, the good news is now there's a better way. Apparatus Contractor Services wants to take your bookkeeping and payroll headaches off your plate. They specialize in doing just that, specifically for small construction businesses, and they've put together a great package for Construction Leading Edge podcast listeners. So here's what life looks like when you let the apparatus team handle your back office headaches. Number one, you're going to be able to spend more time doing stuff that will actually grow your business or the stuff that you want to do. No more nights and weekends entering invoices. Number two, you'll have more confidence knowing that you're making decisions based on real numbers, not gut feelings. I talked to one of their clients and he said this: they've given me the confidence to hire an employee and take on more work than I would have previously. So if you're ready to offload your payroll and bookkeeping headaches, to go from clutter to calm, from confused to competitive, and go from a situation where your books are actually a liability and they're a hindrance, and turn them into an asset or a point of strength, then go find out what the contractor or what the Apparatus Contractor Services team can do for you. All you have to do to learn more is go to ConstructionLeadingEdge.com/headache. You'll see a brief video there in a place that you can put your information in and request a call from the folks at the Apparatus Contractor Services team, and they will help get you in a position where you can do what makes money and stop doing stuff you actually hate. The other thing I want to get in your hands is some information that you'll hear that Matt and Katyana use to grow their business dramatically. And this is information that's in the Construction Business Accelerator program. You can get your free 10-day trial of the Construction Business Accelerator program. You're going to get membership in a private Facebook group with other construction business owners just like you, where you can bounce ideas, get resources. I post videos in there as well. You'll also get my Revenue Maximizer program, which is the best thing I could get in your hands. It'll give you a blueprint for mapping out what your business needs in terms of profit and revenue, and then it gives you a way to set up a blueprint for success. If you do it right, you will get out of cash flow crunch, you will stay out of cash flow problems, you will execute your projects on time. It's the best thing I can do for you. You'll also get access to the Leadership masterclass, the mindset upgrade, the contractor sales accelerator, about $9,000 worth of stuff. It's like Netflix for contractors. If you haven't signed up for it, I don't know why. It's free for 10 days. You can get your free 10-day trial at constructionbusinessaccelerator.com. Go sign up before I change my mind and stop giving away so much stuff for free. So there you go. Bookkeeping. Go check out the Apparatus Contractor Services to upgrade your skills and your mindset. Go get your copy of the Construction Business Accelerator. Now, without further ado, let's get into my interview with two of my favorite Canadians, Matt Jackson and Katyana Repas. Enjoy. Okay, Matt and Katyana, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Hi there.
So let's start with this. Let's talk about the dynamic of running a construction business as a couple. Talk about some of the challenges, what you guys have figured out, works, what doesn't work. Let's just talk about that for a few minutes.
Well, it's definitely interesting. I mean, you never really, it's hard to separate work and personal time.
Yeah, it's a conscious effort.
I'm going to say the majority of our date nights, we're talking about business. But that's not from a bad point of view. It's just what it consumes our life at the moment. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Is that okay? I mean, a lot of people would say you need to have some sort of work-life balance, but are you guys okay with talking about the business on date night?
Yeah. I think, the business is such a huge part of our life right now. And, the reason that we're in business, part of the reason we're in business together is because our life goals, our personal life goals are the same. We share the same visions for our future. And the business is so much a part of that. So yeah, I think we're both okay talking about business at date night, more so now than in the past. I think in the past, when we talked about business on date night, it was a little bit more negative and more frustrating, and we're working on how we're going to make this work. Now, when we talk about it, it's exciting, and we're looking forward to the changes that are going to come and to the work that we're doing.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So let's talk about some of the challenges. What are some of the sticking points or the challenges of running a business together?
Well, Matt's better at it than I am, but I definitely have a more difficult time separating our business relationship and our personal relationship. So sometimes he'll have to call me out and be like, well, you can't be that harsh on me just because I'm your boyfriend. If I was just a business partner, you wouldn't be talking to me in this way necessarily. He's better at separating it than I am, but for me, definitely it's a conscious effort to separate those two things.
Yeah, I think the emotional too, right? If you had a bad day at work, for me, coming home from the shop to the house, it's different than being in the home office and then just walking downstairs. If you have a bad day, you're carrying that emotion through to the personal time. Mm-hmm. So it's to realize that, yes, that the reason we're not in a good mood at home is because of whatever problem happened at work or something like that. But it equally flips. And if we're having a great day, we're both in a great mood back at home. So there's that up and down. And as long as you're aware of it, I'm pretty good at just flipping a switch.
Yeah.
In my emotions, let's say. Whereas Katyana's a little more, she wears her emotions. She lets you know.
Yeah, I let you know. I live out my emotions pretty well.
So Matt doesn't have to wonder, gosh, Katyana, how are you feeling today?
Yeah, no, he never has to ask because I've already told him.
So let's talk about what are some of the benefits of running a business as a couple? Like, some people look at the downside, but what are the benefits in your opinion?
Yeah, so for sure the benefits far outweigh any negative aspects of it. And I think actually what we were just talking about is also a positive thing because we're in it together and we know everything that's going on. I think we're more understanding with each other. If we're in a bad mood because of something that's going on in the business, or, Matt does have periods where he has to work late, and he doesn't have to explain to me why he has to stay at the shop late, because I already know, because I know what our deadlines are. I know what projects are going on. So I think, I'm more understanding. That allows me to be more understanding than maybe someone else would be, because I'm in it with him. I know what needs to get done.
I think, it's also that we're, together 24/7, right? If you just have a business partner, you may see each other for all of 2 hours during a day, right? To get all that information across. Whereas, we have time in the morning, as we're having coffee, we'll talk about, what's going on, what we got to do there. There's just so much more time spent together talking about business, that it's like seeing that business partner for that much time, I think is extremely helpful for a young business at the moment. Hopefully we'll get it to a point where it won't be so consuming. But as growing a small business, there's a ton of work that they tell you is going to be there, aside from actually completing the work. So I think that's been a big one.
Yeah.
The time spent together is very helpful.
Yeah. So let's say you're sitting down with a couple who's thinking about going into business together. Maybe they're in a situation where you guys were a few months ago, where one of them is running the business and the other member of the couple is thinking about coming on board full time. Let's talk about that specific situation, because that's where you guys were a few months ago. So Matt was full time in the business, Katyana, you part time, and then you just made the jump to go full time into the business. So what advice would you give to somebody in that situation to tell them what to watch out for and set them up for success?
I think the biggest, if you can go through a few, like we'll call them crises, through job, big problems.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe you're not going to be able to pay your bills, or
whether it be financial or on the job side of things. If you can make it through one or two of those, together and still be good on the end of it, then I think you'll be fine together. I think if that really is that's usually where you really see the other side of your business partner. If that becomes a huge problem and then creates problems on the personal side,
maybe resentment, or
then you might want to rethink about working together. But if you can overcome that, realize that that's a business problem, not a personal problem, then I think you'll be fine.
So on that note, for sure, I think you have to personally be a really strong couple, for sure. I don't know if I'd advise against a couple. If I would advise a couple who's been together for a month necessarily to go into business together. That being said, part of it is, for us, is kind of luck too, because of our personalities. So, our personalities match in that way because we're so different that we complement each other. So I feel like we're lucky in that sense, that in our personal life that works, but then that also translates into the business. So that allows the business to be run smoothly because Matt's, more calm and he doesn't stress about things. I stress too much about things, but then that also allows us to, make sure that stuff gets done, because Matt doesn't worry enough maybe about stuff getting done sometimes. So I think, that's part of it. What advice we give to a couple,
and for us, it was a slow integration. So it started from Katyana just helping, with a few things on the side.
Yeah, it's been like five years of
she started, there was no pay attached. She just, helped send some bills because I was overwhelmed. And then it turned out she was working so much that it's like, well, you should be paid for these hours that you're doing, because you're doing about 20 hours a week, in your spare time. So then that turned into, a part-time job, which then turned into her part-time job of 20 hours a week. Well, she was actually doing 40 hours a week of work a week for the company, which lasted almost a year, which was then, just taking over her life at that time, because she still was teaching and had other jobs. So then it was easy to make that full-time jump, because we knew there was more than enough work, and we weren't even touching a lot of the things that we wanted her to do in the office. So it was a slow progression of making sure there's enough work, making sure there's enough income and all that. We didn't just take the dive into it and say, okay, all full-time, all in.
Yeah, put all of our eggs in one basket for sure as a couple. That's obviously, I think something that probably a lot of couples would worry about, because your income is coming from the same source. And if there's nothing in that source to give you money, well, then no one's making money in the family. So yeah, for sure. For us, part of it too was making sure that, okay, we're good. We have, money in the business to fund our life. And
yeah, so let's talk about that transition, because there are a lot of people who are in a situation like yours, where maybe one member of the team is full-time, one is not, and they'd like to get to a point where they could both be full-time. Or there are people who are entrepreneurs and they're trying to get their own thing started, and they're trying to make a transition plan from being an employee to an entrepreneur. So let's talk about that. Like, what was going on in your head? What were the concerns before you made that jump, and what was the thought process that you guys went through to get to the point where you said, yeah, we're ready to make that jump, and Katyana can come on full time?
I think that was all Katyana's decision. I wanted it for a long time.
Yeah, I was gonna say Matt was ready a lot sooner than I was, and as we said before, I'm very open with my emotions, which means actually, and that's another thing too for couples, I think that we can add to that, is to be very open and communicative with each other. We don't hide anything from each other. We talk about everything. So that allows us to be on the same page all the time, whether Matt likes it or not. So we talked about it a lot for a long time, and he was definitely earlier than me saying, we need you in the business. I think that, once you're there, we're going to make it work, and that's going to allow the business to grow. But yeah, I guess I was just more concerned about, well, if I, I was working part-time last year in 2018 teaching. And I was just concerned that, well, if I, left that job and then left that steady income, the business wouldn't be able to replace that income for me. So finally, a big part of our decision finally to take that jump, and what got me to the point where I felt like, no, we're ready. It's the time now, is after we started working with you and, started changing a lot of things in our business. We started making more money and building backlog, and just feeling like the future of our business was more secure.
Yeah, there's a big transition of, she used to be frustrated with having to get all the work done in the business, was interfering with the schooling. Then there was that switch to, she was frustrated with school because it's getting in the way of what she should be doing in the business. And then that was, okay, you're ready, to go full time, because if what your main income is not what you want to be doing, then you should be doing the other job. I think when your work is, for anybody that's a wannabe entrepreneur, if you're doing a little side hustle, and you have a full-time job, and you hate your full-time job and you really love what you're doing on your side hustle and you can see the potential of money, I think that's the time to take the jump. If I was to start a company now, that's how I would wait till that point. Personally.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is let frustration be your guide to some degree. And then having known what your situation was, it's not like you guys had 2 years of backlog and $1 million in the bank when you made that decision, but it was more, we're going to make a decision. And Matt, as you said, it's like it's a little counterintuitive, but making this decision is going to make the business succeed. And I think a lot of people are waiting. They wait until the business until the outcome is 100% certain. Yeah. And the reality is it will never be 100% certain until you make that decision. Does that sound about right?
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Absolutely. And that's definitely something that Matt spoke about a lot, and something that I understood and agreed with. It was just a little bit harder for me to accept and a little bit scarier for me to accept and to actually make that jump. Mm-hmm. But for me too, I think finally, we made the decision for me to go full time. I think it was in October, the end of October this past year. Part of it for me too was just my gut telling me, it's the right time. It just felt like the right time. Finally, everything was falling into place. And up until that point, I feel like had I made the decision earlier, I would have been nervous. But in October, when I made that decision and people asked me, oh, this is exciting. Are you nervous? How do you feel? I didn't. I felt like, no, it feels right. It's the right time. And, we're ready for this. We need this. The business needs this. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a jump. Like I've been self-employed for 14 years. So for me, it's not as daunting whereas somebody who's been employed to lose, like I've never had that feeling of losing that security because I've always had to been on my own.
Yeah.
So I think that would be a huge thing for people to overcome is that security, but the pressures then put on yourself for that security, right? That's, I think, a lot of our drive to be successful is that we want that security for ourselves in income and stability and all that. And that's now on us. So that could be that extra motivation. And I think that depends on the person.
Yeah. And that brings up a good point. Security. I think there's a myth that working for someone else is more secure, but I've certainly been suddenly downsized and let go and lost that security because I was an employee, and I feel much more secure having my own business and being in complete control of my destiny rather than somebody else. So I think that's a myth, this myth of security. Employment is security. And I'm not saying that being an entrepreneur is right for everybody, but I think for people listening, if you have that desire, and we're going to talk about vision and goals in a few minutes, but if you really feel like that's what you're supposed to do, and you're telling yourself that you're walking away from security by starting your own business, I think it's probably the opposite. And what I've learned after talking to folks like yourself for the last 5 years now is that the best way to be successful is to eliminate plan B, right? To not have a plan B. It's burn the ships. One of the first people I interviewed on the podcast, Torrey Hawkins, this guy was crazy. He started a commercial or industrial construction business in 2008 in Houston, where the recession hit the hardest. And he said, if I'm ever going to do it, now's the time. And he took away plan B. He took away options. And that's a common thing that I've seen with entrepreneurs is they eliminate plan B, and they get themselves in a situation where they have to succeed. And then they do.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty amazing what you'll accomplish. Doesn't matter what trade or whatever business you're in, but when your back is against the wall, it's pretty amazing what you can accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be comfortable with your back against the wall quite a few times, throughout your business, I think, to get it to a point where you'll consider yourself successful.
Yeah.
So if you're okay with that, then
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely a telling sign of a healthy entrepreneur.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Going through some adversity. I think we're all capable of so much more than we think we are. And going through that adversity is a test, and it can be bad sometimes, but it's good in the fact that you find out what you're really made of, and you find out what you're actually capable of. And when you have, quote, security, you play it safe and you don't really know. So good. Well, I appreciate you guys sharing that and being transparent about that process. So let's talk about the importance of vision and goals for the business. I know you guys have some big goals that you've put out in front of you. How important is that to a business, and why has it been important to you guys? And if so, how?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, our visions and our goals for the business really, they come from a personal place for us. So, we're in business together because our personal goals, our personal values really, which is what brought us together as a couple, they're really the same. And because of that pushes us to have the same visions and goals in the company. And I think it's exactly what you were just talking about, not having a plan B. How we see the future of our company, that's what we see. That's all we see. It's not thinking about, okay, but if this doesn't happen, it will happen because this is our goal. This is our vision, and we're going to make it happen. It's just a matter of when that's going to happen, how hard we work. The harder we work, well, hopefully the sooner it's going to happen. But for sure for us, we start every year. Not that New Year's is the only time of the year when you can make resolutions and visions and goals, but we definitely start every year with our goals for the year, and we make sure to write them down and to talk about them and to visualize them. We have a vision board in the office where we put up our revenue goals for the month, for the quarter, for the year. And we really see a difference when we can see those. It helps us to work towards achieving them.
For sure. From day one, I think the lifestyle that we wanted together was the same, which was, as Kat said, what attracted us to each other. And then this business, we figured out between the two of us that this was what was going to get us to that lifestyle. There was no other way for us to do this in a timely manner that we wanted to get us to that lifestyle that we want. And where we want to be and what we want to be doing in life. So that was really the all in, moment for us. We're all in this. Let's do it. There's nothing else that's going to get us there quicker.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the visions and goals, setting those, the vision and the goal is always the nice stuff, right? It's the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's all the good things. What I find interesting is how much it opens of the ugly. Is that, yes, your goal's great, but now look at what you got to do to get there. And and that's what a lot of people don't look at, right? These resolutions that people write out in the new year, and it's all great and wonderful, and you're living in a dreamland, but
you got to put in the work.
Now you actually break it down, and you're doing the ugly stuff, the stuff you don't want to do, the stuff you've been pushing aside, digging into the dirt. And that's been the tough part about these visions and goals is actually digging into it and seeing what you're going to have to do to get there. but then the satisfaction comes of when you know, the quarter or the year is up and you've seen yourself actually accomplish it. It's a huge, you know, confidence boost.
Yeah. An amazing feeling of accomplishment for sure.
Yeah, and when it comes to visions and goals, are your goals? There are a couple of different ways people structure their goals. One would be they have their lifestyle goals, and then people have a business goal.
Yeah.
And how would you describe yours? Do you have business goals that are a means, an end in and of themselves, like you just want to grow the business, or are your goals really about growing the business so it can give you the lifestyle that you want?
Yeah. So for us, at least right now, our business goals are so that we can have the lifestyle that we want. I think I feel now that because we're both in the business full time and we're working so hard, we're getting more and more excited about what's happening in the business. So I think that's going to cause us to actually have 100% pure business goals now too, that don't really have to do with our lifestyle, because we're so proud of what we can accomplish. And when we do accomplish something, you know, it's really exciting. So for now, it's really business goals because of the lifestyle we want. But I think soon we're gonna end up having some just business goals also.
Yeah, for me, the business goals are more on what I actually want to accomplish in the physical material world. So what I'd like to build, what I'd like to be building, you know, who I'd like to be working with. That's more my goal. Mm-hmm. I get to do what I really love, no matter what I was doing. I'm always going to be building something. It might not be out of wood, but I'm going to be building something. That's what I love to do. So for me, it's a great, part of that is I get to make money. Is the enjoyable part for these goals, is that, I'm finally seeing actual dollar amounts, which is also an equation of success, in my opinion, is that not only am I accomplishing beautiful projects, but we're actually making money and we're supporting ourselves and our future family. So that's been big.
Yeah. So you just said something I want to visit on for a few minutes. What would you say to someone who's listening, who heard what you just said and doesn't understand or doesn't believe that you can really impact? They don't believe that they have an impact on their future. They sort of feel like they have to take what comes to them. Because what I heard you say was, we set goals, we went after it, we beat our goals. And I heard you say you feel like you have a choice and you can go get what you want. What would you say to the person who's like, hold on, I don't believe that. I have to take what life gives to me. What would you say to that person?
I think the law of attraction is very interesting. When you just talk about it, it does not seem real or possible. Mm-hmm. You do have to semi be realistic in that you can't just think about a castle and it's going to show up next year because I want to live in a castle. But if you set out realistic goals, it's incredible what your subconscious will do to get you there. And I can't explain it, but it's incredible how you just, whether, are constantly, it's like you say, it's buffering in the back of your mind. It's just constantly working there, whether you're thinking about it or not. You're having a different view on things. It all just sort of associates back to this goal. And that's it. It's amazing what your subconscious will do in the law of attraction.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think, most people are visual, which is why personally I find it super important to write it down and to actually see those goals, to put it on paper. And exactly like Matt says, somehow universe conspires with your subconscious to make it all happen. and it does. It all just comes together. But you do have to work.
Yeah.
You can't write it on a piece of paper and then wait for it to happen. Of course, there's the hard work that comes along with it. But yeah, visions and goals are such a huge part of our company and our growth and our future. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this gets a little touchy feely and gets a little out there when we talk about the subconscious and, but I'm a firm believer that when you make a definite decision, you decide what you will have. And I think and maybe we're talking about goals, but what you guys did, you made decisions. You decided what you wanted. And I think there's a subtle but powerful difference between a goal that is like, well, I think it would be great to fill in the blank. But you guys decided we will do this. And then you backed it up with a plan. And I think a lot of things happen when you make that definite decision. I can't explain it, but I think some interesting things happen that are outside of you. So are there any examples? Like, did you guys see things happen after you started making those decisions and going after them? Did you see opportunities come your way, things that started happening that weren't happening before?
For me, it was more, I noticed what we didn't want show up, making itself very obvious, right? We get a lot of walk-ins in our shop, and that immediately was just not to be mean to these people, but you're wasting my time. These are usually dead end, they're time wasters. These people
where it's
that
just,
walk in, unfortunately.
For other companies, they're good clients, but for the type of company that we have and that we want to have, they're not the right clients for us.
So that was what we didn't want, I didn't necessarily see the opportunities be laid out, but I was more aware of what we were doing wrong or the bad opportunities showed up. So it was really eliminate those, I think, was a huge help to us going forward, because we were always spending a lot of time, getting dragged down with these people, spending a lot of time going nowhere with them.
Yeah, they didn't align with
what we wanted to do. As opposed to the opportunities. No, I really had to make an effort to go out and get the opportunities that we wanted. That was definitely a conscious effort on my side, as with the phone or making sure we ran into people or however it was that I tried to organize those meetings. Was definitely a conscious effort. The phone, we're pretty lucky. The phone rings a lot here where we are, but those opportunities I had to go out and get.
Well, something, last year at the beginning of the year, when we wrote down our resolutions for the year, we wrote our revenue goal for the year. And when we went through them at the end of December, we realized we had hit that revenue goal and surpassed it. And I think when we wrote it down at the beginning of 2018, it was really like, this is our dream. This would be really cool if we can make this much money this year. And I don't know if we really...
And I think if you talked to us in May, we would have said there's no hope in hell.
Yeah. So, the whole subconscious thing, writing it down on a piece of paper, things happening because you've visualized it. I think that's a pretty good example that, we hit. Like Matt said, we did work hard for it too. It didn't just happen on its own. But I think a large part of it is due to the visualization of it, the vision of it happening.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of power in making that decision and then doing the hard work. So you guys are really good at implementation. And some of the people I work with are not that great at implementation, but the information we talk about, it's all great, but it's really not that beneficial until it shows up. So what do you guys do to be such good implementers, or to be so good at implementation and execution? How do you think about it? This may just be the way you operate, but what goes on a day-to-day basis to make you such good executors?
Well, I think it comes also from our personalities of who we are is definitely the base. Speaking for Katyana, but she was the grade A student, 100% on all the tests, did all the homework, loved school. School was the way it's structured was really meant for her.
Yeah.
And she enjoyed it. I, on the other hand, was a complete opposite. And I think the implementation part comes from being self-employed for so long. You quickly learn that if you make a mistake, it costs you money. You're not going to do that again. So from my point, it's of actually, you can't afford to make mistakes. So you figure out a way to do this, a solution, or there's something is laid out in front of you, then put it in play, because that's going to help you survive.
Implement it because it's going to help you do what you got to do, achieve what you need to achieve.
Whereas Katyana, it's more, this is a test. Let me, she wants to ace the test. It's like you're laying out a challenge for her. Here's the question. Okay, I can do this. Watch me do this. I'm going to get 100%.
Yeah, a little bit of that. So for sure, like you said, it is definitely part of our personalities, our past experiences. I think also what allows us to implement is the fact that we're a team. That really helps. We have a big advantage there, is that we have each other to push each other, to motivate each other,
hold each other accountable.
Yeah, absolutely, to hold each other accountable. So, not that if you're alone in business, it means it's impossible for you to implement. It's just, I think, for us personally, it definitely is an advantage, and it does make it easier for us to implement, because we're constantly just pushing each other and holding each other accountable. So, maybe if you're alone in business, it's a good idea to find someone else who's in business and kind of motivate each other so you don't feel so alone.
That was also part of why we decided to work with you, was that we knew we would talk about what we were doing wrong. We talked about what we should be doing. We knew a lot of what was the problems were, but it was to actually have somebody else to hold us accountable, because there's only so much that we can do between each other. It's to have that third party that, like we say, it's like, Todd asked us to do this week. We got to get our homework done and do that.
Yeah, because in that same respect, because we are a couple, it's, Friday night, we want to watch a movie with a glass of wine and not work necessarily, right? So, I guess that doesn't necessarily always work in our favor either, because sometimes we don't want to work on the business when maybe we should be doing it. So, having you to hold us accountable too is a big part of it.
Okay, so we've talked about the personality, how the personality differences work in your favor. Let's talk about finding the balance, because we talk a lot about systems and processes, and one of Matt's favorite things, checklists, right?
Yes, I love
them. All right, so we've spent quite a bit of time over the last month working on systems and processes, and we've gone past the line where Matt's comfortable with, and there's been this ebb and flow. Let's talk about finding the balance of how systematized you want to be. What was the thought process there to find the right level of balance where you have systems and processes in place, but you don't completely drive Matt crazy? Matt, let's talk about, how do you think about checklists and processes first, and then Katyana, you can talk about how you think about it, and then how did you guys land on a middle ground that works for you?
Yeah, I don't know if we necessarily always have a middle ground. We have our moments. Yeah, it's a constant learning process, I think, of trying to find that balance, and we're both learning to find that balance, because I think there's some days that I go too overboard and, ask too much of him from my side of the business. And then there are days where he doesn't give me enough time for my side of the business. So it's a daily thing that, we're learning and we're working hard on finding that balance. But I think the harder we work, the more both of us realize that having that balance in the business is so crucial to it. He can build beautiful things, but unless the office side of things is run properly, well, we're not going to make any money. It doesn't matter how beautiful the kitchen he built was. If we're not organized, then this isn't going to work.
Yeah, I mean, money's made in the office. I think you even had a podcast about that. I forget who and what number, but it's true. The money is made in the office for that. Now the balance of lists and so on, I'm more of the artist background. So to be this structured thing, I'm not used to that. I don't function that way. That doesn't come to my mind of like, I should make lists of everything and this is going to help me. That's just not where my mind goes when I'm thinking about a project. I do understand the benefit of them, and I try my best to, get my knowledge over into the office, and then the office knowledge into the shop, and so that we're more fluid back and forth. That brings back to you is that you pretty much have the keys to success. You hand us the key and say, this is the key to success, but it's us that actually has to put the key in the lock and turn it. So
to open that door.
That's it as part of the systems and lists and whatnot. Organization is a key to success. So I understand that. It's just for me to actually do that and consciously make an effort is really tough when my mind just immediately goes somewhere else and thinks about working and stuff in the shop as opposed to the office stuff.
Which is when I come in and, remind him these are things that we have to do if we want to hit our goals, if we want to achieve what we want to achieve. We can't procrastinate on these things. We can't act like they don't exist. These are things that we have to continuously be working on. And again, that I think that, the balance, it's part us consciously working on the balance, and it's also part just something that kind of happens for us because we are so different. So I enjoy the office work. I like making the lists, and I like making spreadsheets and running numbers and getting things organized. And I think because I like that and because I show passion in that, and then when I talk about it, I show my passion for it, I'm able to bring Matt into that side of the business with me and get him excited about it too, because I've, kind of done the work and laid it all out for him. So that helps bring him in and, gets you to understand my side of the business better.
And we've, I think, outlined quite a few major roadblocks in our company and what's holding us back, and trying to deal with those first. The biggest roadblocks first is going to help you get a lot further along quicker, as opposed to what I may think is a roadblock is not actually really that relevant in the final outcome at the end of the year. For me, it is, because that's what I deal with every day in the shop and so on and so forth. But in actuality, it really doesn't make that much difference at the end of the year. So dealing with that, these systems, these organization, this not wasting time, not going back for tools 2 times because we spent a bit of time in the office making a list is extremely important. At the end of the year, it'll make a bigger difference than what I was thinking was the problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the important part is finding a balance, because the work that you do, it's artwork, right?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
It's never the same. There's not one job that's ever the same.
Yeah, it's not production work. You
No.
are manufacturing work, if you want to call it that, or you're fabricating work, but it's not repetitive. It's not production. It's not like a factory, but there are some manufacturing practices that can help. But if we went too far with those practices, it would smother the artwork and make you less successful. So it's your craftsmanship and artistry and skill has gotten you to a certain point. And I think the key in my mind is, let's bring along the right amount of processes and checklists to support that without going so far that it smothers you and demotivates you. And that's been an interesting process for the last couple of months that we worked on that. So let's talk about one of the things that I talk about a lot, which is mindset. What has been one of the biggest mindset changes that you've gone through in the last 6 or 12 months that has caused you to change the way you think and that has contributed to the success of your business?
For me personally, it's a big one for me is, I think, believing myself in this role, believing that I can be in this role and I fit in this role, and that I can achieve our goals. That's been a big one, because I guess, for me, a part of it was just, I don't know if I can do this. I don't have the background in business. Maybe I'm not meant to do this. I'm not good enough. I'm a perfectionist, so everything that I do really, really has to be perfect, and I don't like failing, and I don't like making mistakes. So, being in business makes that a little difficult, because business is all about making mistakes and learning from your mistakes and growing from them. So a big mindset shift for me was from, I'd say at the beginning of the year, really.
What the advance?
Yeah. Well, being even uncomfortable in this role, what do people think of me in this role? Are they judging me? Are they thinking, who does she think she is, being able to run a business? Shifting from that to, no, we got this. We can do this. We can do whatever we want. And we're going to make this work. And I think for the people listening, that's a huge thing, is really, if you want to be in business, you have to block out what other people think, because people will judge and they will make comments, and it's not easy sometimes. So you often have to block out what other people think and not care about that too much, because it's going to make it difficult to continue pushing through. Matt's really, really good at doing that, not caring what other people think. I'm not as good, as you know, as we've spoken about before. So for me, that was a huge mindset shift for me.
Yep, I really noticed that. That's it, at the events in Kentucky that we went to. She left there confident in that I belong in this role. I'm no longer worried about being a woman in construction and, what her place was, how she was talking to people, what they were going to be thinking. It was really, this is my role. I'm going to be the best at it. And it's amazing how much respect she gets from people in that role. And it's actually a huge benefit, I think, having a woman in your company for that, because as much as most men are, macho construction guys or whatever, they are scared women, right? When it comes time to the office, it's really, so it's been,
what does that say about me?
yeah, exactly. But it's okay, pay. I'm always that people pleaser, so I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Oh, you didn't have the check. Okay, well I'll get you next time. It's all right. I'm coming back in a couple of days. Whereas Kat, it's like, no, here's the email. You're paying me, and people, okay, and pay her, right? Don't get Kat mad. So that's been a big change. It was nice to see from the outside. My mindset was definitely the value of what we do. I was definitely undervaluing our worth, my time, and that was the biggest one, was to actually see. I still don't think we're where we should be, but I'm also balancing as I mindset shift, the uncomfortableness of these conversations of how much we have to be charging for the value of work that we're doing.
Yeah.
For me, it can be an uncomfortable conversation, and I don't like people being upset or uncomfortable or people saying no. So that mindset shift, that people, if they say no, it's okay. That it will be fine. We're going to survive without it. We're going to survive without that job or whatnot, or the uncomfortableness of bringing an estimate to somebody, and it's going to be probably more than they can afford, and they won't be able to get what they want, what they're dreaming of in their home from us, is a very uncomfortable situation that I've always kind of ran away from. So instead of running away from it, I would just undervalue what we did to keep them happy.
Yeah, that's a huge mindset shift for you that you're working on. Yep.
Good. Well, thank you for sharing that. So you mentioned the Advance in Kentucky. This was a live mastermind event that I put on in October of 2018. How would you describe your experience from that? What did you walk away from? How was your experience at that live event? If to share with folks who are thinking about coming to the next one.
I think it really, in the construction way, built the foundation of what we're going to be working off of for our business. So we nailed down the major problems, what we really have to work on, where our problems were, and it just, it was the base of what we're building off of. Whereas before we were just kind of building this company kind of on stilts, and it was wobbly and wasn't, planted in the ground.
Solid.
Now we really know, okay, let's build off of this and go. And it was nice. It was nice to, in a bad way, it was nice to see that other people had problems like us.
Yeah.
Not that I think the people there are also built that foundation, are really jumping forward.
Yeah, but no one's perfect.
Getting a huge advance, right? Yeah. Was the point of it, is to get a jump on your company, and seeing that you're not alone, talking to other people who might not be in the same trade as you, dealing with the exact same problem of either being a people pleaser or too shy or scared of what people are going to think. It was kind of eye-opening, and that was a real help, that mindset shift of, well, okay, so if they can get over, so can we. Came up with a few problems, solved a few problems, just talking about it, and a confidence boost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Yep. What was the unexpected benefit or anything? Was there something that surprised you about the Advanced live event?
I think Louisville's really nice.
Lexington.
Lexington, right? Sorry.
It's that nice.
No, I think the how different everybody was there. I think there's two people that did roughly the same.
Yeah, custom home
contractors, but how diverse the group of people were there, and yet we were all the same in a sense. Mm-hmm. And that was surprising to me. I thought going there as a custom cabinet company that we wouldn't have anything to relate with other people there. Mm-hmm. But it is really, really close, whether it's, insulation, electrical, a plumber, you're all in the same sort of boat.
Yeah. And also I think, if you're open, I think a lot of people would be surprised at what the actual problems are in their business. A lot of people, I think they know where their problem spots are in their business. And this was something that was true for us too before we started working with you. You think you know what's wrong in your business, and that's probably part of it, but that's also probably not where you should start. There's probably, finding the root cause, which is something we worked on with you in Kentucky. That's such a big part of solving the problems. So I think a lot of people would be surprised to find out what their root causes are for their problems, and also how much mindset is involved in solving those problems and in achieving your goals, and how important it is to really apply mindset to your business and not just only systems. I think sometimes people think it's, we need to put systems into place, and once the systems are there, the business is going to run smoothly. And yeah, you need systems, but that's only a part of it. Mindset is so huge too.
And I think the other thing that was very surprising was Ryan Lawson came as a guest, and his training on selling and the way you sell and the subconscious that you're selling to, no matter what you're trying to sell, was very surprising. I did not think that that's how selling works, right? The basis of selling. And it's pretty interesting when you do put that into play, that it does work, and it doesn't matter if you're selling electrical or if you're selling truck tires, it's all the same. Mm-hmm. And that was definitely a surprising and fun part of the course.
Yes.
Yeah, that was probably the most fun exercise, was when I passed out a ping pong ball and a toilet plunger and challenged you guys to can opener. Yeah. That was fun.
Yeah. It was fun. Yeah.
All right. Well, we've been working together for 6 months or so. I'm not sure. We started working together in the middle of 2018 in my coaching program. So, and I've enjoyed working with you guys and look forward to working with you guys in the future. And I appreciate you being on the podcast. So I want to talk about your experience with the coaching program, if you wouldn't mind sharing that with folks who are listening. And I'll start with this. How is life different now since we've started working together?
Yeah, well, Matt's smiling because I think he's probably thinking the same thing as I am, which we've spoken about with you before too. It's our little inside joke that I don't cry on a daily basis anymore. So yeah, I'm all jokes aside, I'm a lot more positive about the future of our business. I can finally see the light. I think Matt's always seen some light. I'm speaking for you, but I think you also see way more light now. So it's, our future looks bright, and we can actually see our future, and we want to see our future. We're excited to see our future. We're excited to be working in the business. We're excited to be growing in the business. before it was more challenging and frustrating and often negative. So now it's turned into really an exciting experience for us, and I think both of us are super happy with what we've accomplished, and really proud of ourselves too for what we've accomplished, because we feel like we're putting in the work and we're seeing results finally, whereas in the past we felt like we were working hard and nothing was coming of it and we weren't making money, and it was just really a frustrating experience. So yeah, that's been a huge change.
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, it's like I've always been standing at the door of success, but it just took somebody else to show up with the key, right?
Yeah, so to open that
door. And I think, laying out these checklists and so on and so forth. Not only that, but the actual, like, the root causes, what was holding us back, is really been the key. And a lot of it. So for us in the custom world, you think, well, that was one of my first questions on the first phone call we had, is how can we create a system for something that is going to be different every time? But as I said, that wasn't actually necessarily the problem. Is we don't need systems for the actual in the shop stuff. We need systems for our business and the way we operate, the way we price jobs.
Yeah.
Has been a huge change for us, and that right to left thinking for us has been
humongous for sure.
And actually to work through it. So, what is right to left thinking? Well, this is how it works. And, start with those goals and work backwards. And it's amazing to see how we quote projects now. I never ever would have thought of how that would be the way to do it. We never ever would have come to that realization.
Yeah, on our own, there's no way.
On our own. So working with that has been hugely helpful, and addressing, our number one problem, which was backlog, right away. After we finished that phone call, we looked at each other and said, I can't believe he wants us to do this.
Yeah, there's so many problems in our business. Really, this is where we need to start. But okay, yeah, we're going to do it. And yeah, sure enough, I mean, this is such a huge driving force of our business. And I think it's something we talk about on a daily basis, is the backlog. So big change.
Yeah, and I think that's back to what we've started on, is implementing. Is we went out there, got backlog right away, because we're working with you and
we're implementers. Yeah. But we implemented the backlog.
And did it, and it worked right away. So that was there was the proof in the pudding. Is, well, it worked. Okay, so what's next on the list? Okay, let's try this. Well, it worked the first time. Let's try the second time. I'm sure it's going to work. And it's just every step that we keep going forward, it's just more and more successful.
Mm-hmm.
If you would, talk about what right to left operation looks like in your business. Mm-hmm. How would you describe that in your words?
Well, we set out, so we have our lifestyle goal that we want to achieve, the life that we want to live. We then figured out how much money we're going to need to live that lifestyle.
Yeah.
Then broke down, Katyana spent a lot of time figuring out the running cost of the company, and then the salaries and the profit, and how much business we would have to do in a calendar year to get us the salaries that we want. And then that gave us a number that's up on our board of, we have to do X amount of thousands of dollars of business, which then she broke it down into a monthly or quarterly and then a monthly number. And then we now have to go out and get this much work. So when a project is brought to us, we look at the total value. We figure out how much the material is going to cost, how much is left over for us after we pay our employees and taxes and so on and so forth. And then we look at that number and we add it up onto our goal list. And well, we're still left with half that amount. So we have to go get this much more work this month. And now we have to complete it in that time.
Yeah.
And it becomes a more of a yes or no answer than breaking it down into these tiny details that don't really matter.
Yeah, it takes a lot of the guesswork out of quoting jobs.
Yeah. And it showed us that all these, the older jobs that we're taking were just not going to get us to that number on the board. So that means that we're not going to do this job because we can't, or it has to be more money. It's one or the other. That's where the conversation ends for us. So it's simplified. It's simplified things.
Cool. And what sort of financial results, what have been the tangible results from operating like that for you guys? And as far as, is it increased revenue, increased profits? What other benefits have you gotten out of operating that way?
Yeah. So the first time we implemented this was the last quarter of 2018. We had our revenue goals up, and we ended up far surpassing what our revenue goal was for that quarter. So working that way really, it helps you to reach that number because you know what it is. You're not guessing what the number is. You have a concrete number to work with. And it just makes it, like Matt said, it simplifies things. So not only did we pass that goal, but we made profit, I think, for the first time ever.
We were paid salaries.
We were both paid consistent salaries for the first time ever. Like I said, there was still money left over in the business afterwards. So,
and I think one thing that we struggled with before we signed up for your coaching was, like most struggling companies, is money is obviously a huge decision factor, and it's what held us back for quite a while, because as a struggling business, how are we going to afford this? And it's to note that the cost of your coaching is not being taken out of that profit at the end of the quarter. It's actually included in our running costs. So that salary that we gave ourselves plus all that profit that's actually just ours. It isn't like we made a ton of profit, but now we have to pay it out again. That coaching is rolled into our operational costs. And I think that would be the last thing that we'll cut. We'll try and figure out how to run the shop without hydro, but we need Todd there.
Well, that's good. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate the time you guys have taken to be on the podcast. I want to be cognizant of your time. So one last question before we get to how people can get in touch with you and find out more about what you guys do is this. If you're talking to somebody who's thinking about joining my coaching program, they're not sure about it. Maybe they're right where you were. They're like, I don't know if I can. I don't know if it's worthwhile. I don't know if I'm going to implement. I don't know if I can afford it. It seems like a lot. What would you tell them?
Do it. Simply put, just do it, because it will make a difference 100%. The resources that you give us and what Matt was talking about, the keys to success that you give us, they help you make money in the business. So not only will that pay for the coaching, but it's going to help you make profit too. So I think, being in business is, it's challenging. It's definitely, it's not a walk in the park. It's challenging, but it's also fun. And I think an important part of being in business is to have a mentor or a coach there to guide you, because sometimes it can be isolating, and you put your head down and you work hard, and sometimes you forget about the outside world. And I think it's important to have someone else on the outside come in and take a look at your business, because they'll look at it differently than you. So for sure, both of us agree that having a coach and a mentor is such a huge part of the success of any business.
Yeah, I think every successful person out there has, if not a group of coaches and mentors, or they may not be talking on a daily or weekly basis, but they are people out there that they look up to. They, when they're talking, they take the information and actually it's meant. How do I say this? Excuse me. It's with our best interest at heart, right? Like, you're actually there rooting for us 100%. You want to see us succeed.
Yeah.
And it may not be pretty all the time, but that's what you also need, somebody to tell you what you're doing wrong too.
Yeah. So for sure, if you're thinking of hiring Todd, well, do it yesterday, really, because that's actually one thing that, we talk about. So the only thing that we did wrong was not hiring you sooner, really.
And I think if you're aware that you need a business coach to help you in your company, I think you are mentally ready to actually accept that help, right? If you can say, I've got a problem, my business is not being as successful as it should be, you can be quite successful anyways in business and still could use a coach, will be a benefit to you. It's only just going to bring you further ahead, right? So absolutely. If you can see there's things that I need to work on, and you're able to accept that yourself, then yes, unfortunately, the money may be something that will be uphill. That's hard to swallow at the beginning, but
that doesn't last long. It pays for itself pretty quickly.
As I said, I'd rather deal with no electricity in the shop than to cut the coaching off at the moment, because Todd will work through a way to get the hydro back on, and
Todd
we'll be back up and
figure out how to get electricity back.
I'm more of an under promise, over deliver guy, so I don't know if I can help you run your shop without electricity, but
right.
Okay. But I do appreciate that, and I'm proud of you guys. It's been amazing and fun to watch the success, to watch you implement and see things come together, and see the change in the attitude and lifestyle. So it's been a lot of fun. So I look forward to working with you guys for a long time. So if people want to find out more about you, go to your find out about your work, the kind of work you do, maybe even contact you, where's the best place they can go to connect with you guys?
So right now you can follow us on Instagram at Entreprise Jackson. At Entreprise Jackson. Yep. We are in the French-speaking part of Canada. We're in the province of Quebec. So Entreprise will be spelled the French way, which is ENTREPRISE, Jackson. Our website is the same, entreprisejackson.com. And our email is info@entreprisejackson.com. If anyone wants to contact us. If anyone has any questions about the coaching too, they can feel free to email us and ask us questions. We'll be more than happy to answer their questions for them and chat with them.
Perfect. And I'll include those links in the notes, which if you're listening to this, whatever podcast player you're using, there should be some details or notes along with this podcast that you can find. And if you're not sure, if you can't remember that information, you can just contact me, go to my website, constructionleadingedge.com, and say, hey, I want to get in touch with those French Canadian folks, and I'll know exactly who you're talking about. So Well, guys, it's been fun. Thank you so much for taking the time. And it's been a pleasure talking to you and working with you. But thanks for sharing all of this on the podcast with everybody else.
For sure. Thanks for having us.
All right. Hope you got something out of that. Be sure and go check out their Instagram page. Go check out their website and connect with them. I'm sure they would be more than happy to connect with you. They're great people. A couple of other things. Don't forget, if you want to fire yourself as your bookkeeper and let the apparatus contractor services team take those headaches off your plate, just go to constructionleadingedge.com/headache, and it'll walk you through the process there. If you want to get your hands on a free 10-day trial of the Construction Business Accelerator, you can do that at constructionbusinessaccelerator.com. And one more thing I didn't mention earlier, I'm planning a live event in Florida in April, the Advance Spring 2019. It's coming up soon. If you're interested in that, keep an eye on your email box. Send me an email, todd@constructionleadingedge.com. Oh, and one more thing, I'm going to be in Vegas at the Builder Show, February 20th, 2019, at the Building Systems Council Lounge. If you're going to be at the Builder Show, I'd love to meet you. And shoot me an email, todd@constructionleadingedge.com, or just go to the Building Systems Council Lounge on February 20th at 4:30. I'll be talking about the skilled workforce delusion and why we have a process problem, not just a people problem. As always, I appreciate the ratings and reviews. If you could take a minute to leave one of those or both, that would be fantastic. And that is all we have today, folks. Thanks you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.